Hi.
Hello.
Sorry,
So
I'm
good to see you.
retarded with this new technology sometimes.
Yeah, I've only just got used to using this Instagram Live thing, and yeah, it takes a little couple of button clicks, and then you get used to it. It's all
Yeah.
good.
No, I'm here.
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Holding up with the situation and see how it will evolve the next months, no? So let's see.
Where are you now? Are you in your studio or are you in your home? Where are you, Lena?
I'm in my home because I decided to work from here and to be safe and at home. So I brought all the materials I need here. So I have my printer, I have my books, and I'm basically researching these days a lot.
Would it be cheeky to ask to have a little look at your where you work, or is it not in? Would you rather not?
I would rather not. I don't like this
Fine,
this
fine.
vibe actually to that everyone is like now posting the home offices. I think we have sown enough.
We've seen enough. I like it. No, that's fair enough. So this is our second chat with this little series here, and based on yesterday's chat, we decided to focus a little bit more on the questions that we prepared. Um, so perhaps we can just get into those, if that's cool with you.
Totally.
All right. So you say your work is focused on marginal and social practices such as tuning races, abandoned airfields, stadiums. Could you tell us more about this interest? Maybe describing first what you consider to be marginal.
So for me, it's like this that I normally find myself in certain situations, be it being at the airport, drying my hands with a futuristic hand dryer like a Dyson Airblade, or walking down the street in Neukölln, and then you find yourself with a Mercedes Benz, which is like doing a burnout in front of you. So situations like this, and then I start to do my research and get into the side stories and try to figure out what to do with it. So I'm starting to investigate physically by diving into subcultures, or philosophically, or interviewing people, and I start to gather my archive about the things I get obsessed. And then you get to the point where you have researched a lot, and then it's trying to find the essence of what you figured out, and then I try transform it into objects, and that can be a drawing, it can be a performance, it can be a video. And then in the end, for me, it's about the relation between the work and the observer. So for me, the objects get to be the activator of the story, and the story can be mine. It can also be the imagination of the person who's looking at it.
And is it by chance in some way that you come across certain marginal aspects initially, or are you already interested in some of these, like the Burnout series and things like this? Like how did that come about?
It was really like this, as I said before, that you're like walking down the street, seeing that, and then you start to talk about it with your friends. And a friend of mine was sending me a link about this specific tires, which have like this pigment inside, which I then used to create this colored smoke, for example. So it's like trying to find the peak of this this object and trying to figure out how to provoke something with it, and to create a new situation that can be then more interesting than the daily object in the end, maybe.
When did you begin this kind of interest? What was there something that sort of initiated that, or can you talk to that at all?
You mean like, I think it all started in a way by me studying in Warsaw in the Studio of Special Activities led by Miroslav Balka. So in this Studio of Special Activities, what we basically did was traveling all over Poland and being invited by museums and institutions to do small interactions within a really, really small amount of time. So you basically find yourself in a city you don't know, and then you're invited to create an artwork, and that's somehow also like, it's a lot of stress, but in the same time it's also very liberating, because you start to look in another way, and then also to let ideas just snap and grow and do it. And I think that was like a great impact on my work, to learn how to do that in that way, and also to work with your colleagues and to pair in groups and use group dynamics to create art.
Yeah, I mean, that's yeah, I remember having a chat the other day with a friend about how important it is to move into new environments, to feel like you have a sort of revitalized, refreshed way of looking at things. So yeah, that sounds a lot like that somehow. We had an exhibition together last year titled Rude Receptionist, Empowering Pose. How did you find out about the shorthand writing method, which was a core part of this exhibition? Or perhaps for people that weren't aware of that exhibition, maybe we could start by you explaining what that was actually about. The Rude Receptionist.
Basically, it was also like me entering the space Weserhalle. So it's like a very, very specific room, because you have like the entrance door, and then you have a wall in the back, which looks like if there is a space coming after. So for me, it looked like a reception hall in a way. So I decided to somehow minimalize the space by just offering the reception desk and somehow an entrance hall aesthetics. And I decided to create the character of the rude receptionist. And you find the imprints of her body casted in metal on the surface of the receptionist desk. So it's basically her deciding one day to stand up and sit on top of the table. So like this, she's breaking with the rules of her being in the space, and it's somehow also related to the power you can have by a simple movement, and this is why it's called empowering pose. And the shorthand writing actually was then combined with it, because I was visiting my grandmother and sitting in the kitchen having coffee with her, and then I found her shopping list lying on the table, and it was actually written in shorthand writing. And I was very fascinated by it, because it very looks magical and encrypted, and it more looks like a drawing, because actually when you do shorthand writing, you use the pressure of the pencil. So if you are like doing a thicker line, it means something else if you would do a thinner line. And yeah, I thought it was very, very aesthetical thing and more like a drawing than a written word. And so I decided to pen pal with my grandmother, and so I was sending her the fragments of the Rude Receptionist of her poetry, and she was then transforming it into these drawings you find in the room on the wall, and it's also her like secret thoughts. And yeah, and then I was like getting into it, and I was thinking like, well, somehow who was able, or who is able and who was able in the peak of shorthand writing to write it, and it was actually only secretaries, basically. So basically women writing down and transcribing what their bosses were telling them. And I was thinking, but actually it's a power tool, because you can create secret messages with it, and only the other people who are able to read shorthand can encrypt it.
And for those that are listening, you can actually go to Lena Marie's Emrich website and see some images of the desk and the shorthand pieces, just to get some context there. But yeah, that was that last year? It's gone so quickly. Was that last year?
I think it was 2018 even.
It was 2018. Wow.
Yes. Time is flying.
Yeah, that's crazy. Wow. So moving on, you mentioned a moment ago that you were working from your home. You've moved into your home, taken some materials there. Are you in more of a sort of research phase at the moment, or what are you working on right now?
So basically, I was in a residency in Marrakesh for January, and then I came back and started working at Schaubühne at the theater to create a stage design for the play M, written by Marlene Stark and Anna Gien, and directed by Sarah Krum. So I finished.
What's
the
name of the play?
M, like the letter M.
That's going to be fun to Google.
And so I created a stage for that, and now it was being produced, or we were in the production mode, but through the coronavirus, of course, the theater is shut down, and the premiere will be postponed to the future, because it was the premiere was for the 29th of April, so this will not happen right now.
That's my birthday.
So it's like we still, like the team, we are still connected. We have the opportunity to dive in more deeply into the material and figure out how to do it and how to do the play. And I can think more about the tools of my stage, and that's also nice to somehow have more time to research. In the same time, I'm now producing my show for the Kunstverein Göttingen. So it's my first institutional show, which should be happening in July. But also that is like something we cannot know right now. But yesterday I was talking to Tomke, the curator, and it's interesting because through Corona, of course, we can see that we are somehow evolving very fastly in a digital way and creating virtual spaces. But I think it's also at the moment like a little bit like an overload of opportunities, and somehow we have like this need of also have analog access to art. So at the moment I'm more thinking about how to maybe do the whole exhibition in public space, because public space we are able to visit still, because we are able to go outside one by one, and so why not use this opportunity to show more art in public space. I think this could be a nice solution for the next months, to still have like this moment of interaction with the observer and trying to give something to people walking outside. But of
It's
course,
a really good, yeah. That's a really good point. Like, I think most people's knee-jerk reaction is just to sort of find digital solutions, and I think we're still trying to find our feet with that, you know. That seems like the obvious choice initially, but of course there is some freedom with the current guidelines, and I like the idea of that informing, you know, how we can experience art in an analog, traditional way. Yeah, and how that can actually inform what the piece is about as well. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how you move that
also,
forward. It'd be good to keep in touch with that.
Also, I think because what I also do, because somehow also it's like us being at home alone, it's also time to do collaborative works. So I'm also working on a project together with Suza Golinska, a young Polish artist, and we also will create a work. I tried these days.
Yeah, and I think that's our attitude to it as well. Keep moving forward and seeing what we can do in response to this, which again is like another creative challenge, you know. Also, just a little side note. It's Goya and Van Gogh's birthday today.
Ooh!
As a side note, and if Goya was alive today, he would be 274. If Van Gogh was alive, he would be 160, a little young spring chicken, 167.
Wow!
So that was just a little side note. And also, just to wrap things up, I don't know if you saw the interview yesterday with Joanna Dumay, but we finished the chat with a real quick, kind of fun, quick fire round, you could say. So I have 10 quick questions, really fun, a little bit silly. Okay. So let's try it out, okay?
Yeah.
And they're a bit silly, I must say, they're a bit silly. But anyway, so coffee or ciggy?
Ciggy.
Sculpture or performance?
Sculpture.
Warsaw or Berlin?
Warsaw.
1991 or 2001?
2001.
Illegal car race or illegal rave?
Car race.
Marina Abramovich or Valley Export?
Valley Export.
I can't say the next one, it's too much.
No, I want to know what it is.
Kunstverein or Weserhalle?
No comment.
The smell of burning tires or the smell that frequently accompanies the first rain after a long period of warm, dry weather?
Petrichor, the second one.
Would you prefer an extra nose or an extra ear?
Extra nose.
You've made a mess. Run or hide?
Always run.
Lena, it's been a pleasure chatting with you today. Yeah, I really look forward to working with you again soon, which we should we should talk with each other about that.
We will do that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so let's stay in touch. Good luck with your work going forward. I really hope it works out for July, and with the stage set design. And yeah, it's been a pleasure chatting with you, and let's catch up soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. How do we hang up on this? I always think this is like the classic, isn't it?